Hi there. This is Erica DELSIGNORE, and I'm the founder of Daily Lead Campaign. And you are watching my live interview series called Great Minds, Great Marketing. And just as a reminder, at Daily Lead Campaign, we find you lots of leads through video marketing and social media lead generation. And I am completely thrilled to have our guest on the show today. Michael LaFido is just a superstar. I mean, if you want to talk about celebrity, and I talk about celebrity a lot, Michael has really cornered the market on it, and he's done it in selling luxury homes in the Chicago area and beyond. And the amazing things that he's accomplished with his marketing, really go beyond, what any realtor I've ever seen has done. And he makes it look effortless. So, 17 years in the business, and he's the founder of Marketing Luxury Group. And Michael, I've been trying to get you on here for 6 months, and you are a very busy man, very hard to nail down. And so I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored, and I was really impressed when you and I met at an event in Florida earlier this year.
That's right. That was a lot of fun. And I do hope eventually, when you are, you're getting to be such a celebrity now. Like, eventually we will be working together. But the thing is that you were just implementing so fast and so often that I don't even know how you keep track of it all. So today I'd just like to talk to you about that and have you share some of those insights and secrets with the audience. Would that be okay?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Fantastic. Well, first, I'd like to start off with something a little personal. I know that you have an incredible family. I see the pictures of your beautiful children up all the time. How do what do you like to do in your free time when you're not out there selling these giant mansions?
Sure. So I have 3 young kids. My boys are Anthony's 2nd grade, and Gianna, or my other boy Vince, is 1st grade, and then Gianna's in kindergarten. So back to back to back, and so they keep me busy, as you can imagine. I coach my boys in flag football, and my daughter's involved in sports as well. So just doing, watching them be kids and run around, and unfortunately beat each other up a little bit too much, but just watching them is something we try to do. And I have a beautiful wife. We've been married for 12 years, and
wow.
They keep me busy. But like most entrepreneurs, it's hard for me to turn that off switch. I try to do my best and put that phone on mute, but my butt's always burning and my mind's always going. So
yeah, absolutely. It is hard to shut that off. So I get it, and I can see that you are just constantly on, even just in this interview. So I think it's fantastic. Maybe you'll even come up with some new ideas while you're talking to us on the fly. Who knows?
Here we go. Yeah.
So how did you get started in real estate? Was it always luxury from the beginning, or was that something that you moved into later?
Yeah, great question. So I was a high school health and PE teacher and health and PE and football coach right out of college, and I got my real estate license like a year or 2 after I started teaching, and I got it. I just was a part-time agent, and my thought process was, if I can sell 1 or 2 homes a year and make the equivalency of coaching a sport or 2, and then heck, that's great. I've always been an entrepreneur. Well, that business started to take off, and I started doing really well and making a lot more than I was teaching. And so my wife was pregnant with our 2nd child, and we had a 6-month-old at the house. And she basically said, "Hey, you got to pick one or the other. Either teach or real estate, because I'm burning the candle on both ends." And real estate was my passion at the time. This was like 2009-ish, and so I just burned the bridges, so to speak. And even though the real estate market, particularly in the Chicagoland, was like in rock bottom, and
gotta say that was a tough year.
It was a tough year, and my family really was not supportive of my decision. Like, I come from a blue collar family, and I walked away from a base salary and pensions and all that, but I wear it on my sleeve, and I'm like, I can't be miserable. So jumped in full blow to the real estate, and I started a coaching consulting business at the time, and then really around 2012 is when I started to make a shift in my consulting and speaking and selling homes to more higher end properties, because I got hired by a particular agent, and and I did some training and consulting for them in their office. And basically I said, man, there's a lot of top luxury agents, and I feel like my marketing is more aggressive and creative and outside the box. If they can do it and be successful, why can't I? So I really started to focus more on the higher end. And real estate in particular is an industry where, you know, the average agent is, you know, in their 50s and upper 50s, and the average luxury agent is probably in the 60s, or, you know, or even maybe even the 70s, because what happens is it's tough to break into that circle of trust. Just like if you remember from the movie Meet the Parents with Robert De Niro, you got the circle of trust. And so luxury real estate is difficult to break into because a seller or buyer will rarely give you the opportunity to represent them unless you come referred or you have a portfolio of previously represented clientele or properties you've sold. And so with that being said, that's part of the reason, you know, we're releasing a book called Luxury Listing Specialist, which is the same name as our certification. We're helping agents break down those barriers because unfortunately, there's a lot of older agents servicing the luxury market, and I'm speaking in generalities here, but many times the older agents, they're not open to the new cutting-edge strategies or video marketing or some of the outside-the-box creativity that it takes to sell some of these higher-end and luxury homes.
Right, absolutely. So you broke in, and how did you do that? What are some of the things that you?
So I broke in, and I ignored what people were telling me. So, you know, I had one agent say, oh, that won't work in this market, or you can't do that here, or, you know, for example, just little things like, so I sponsored like a summer fest where they'd have weekly, basically, beer fest and stuff in this one town called Hinsdale, Illinois.
Right.
There were more million-dollar homes sold 2 years ago. I don't have the data for last year, but more million-dollar single-family homes sold in Hinsdale 2 years ago than any other town in Illinois. Like Coach Q of the Blackhawks lives there. Fred Hoiberg, the Chicago Bulls head coach, lives there. And so it's kind of like the luxury of the western suburbs, if you will. And so they had once a week for 10 weeks in the summer, they'd have this big outdoor fence. They call it Uniquely Thursdays. I sponsored a bouncy house there every Thursday with my picture on it. I bought this bouncy house, and I bought this U-Haul truck and had it wrapped with my brand on there. And somebody said, oh, that won't work in this market. And their thought process was, hey, a $3 million client isn't going to hire you because you know that's selling a $3 million home isn't going to hire you because you have a bouncy house, or they're not going to borrow your truck when they can buy the truck at 10 times. And from that standpoint, they're right. However, they were missing the point. The point was you want to be all over the place. So, man, where is this guy? Where did he come from? And so I had agents be like, Mike, I don't know who you are, because I was previously in a market about a half-hour away. Now, most real estate agents, they work hyper-local. They work the town they live in, where I basically was out of half an hour away from where I lived, and I just came out of nowhere because I was helping this one office out. And so I literally landed on the scene, and I made a big impact with, you know, marketing and the print and digital and the bouncy house and the truck, and I was involved in the chamber, and I was networking and doing all these things. And so I love when people say it won't work. I mean, I have the sign, as you can see, it says prove them wrong behind me. I love proving naysayers wrong. Tell me it can't be done, and I'm going to prove you wrong. So, so doing the exact opposite of everybody else, especially in a traditional industry, is one way that I was able to, you know, get the attention of others.
That's amazing, and it is the best thing you could possibly do, is to show up at places where your competitors are not. And so it sounds like
show up differently, right? So you know, when everybody in the real estate, you know, if you were interviewing agents to sell your home, and a real estate agent calls that a listing appointment. Well, most agents go on listing appointments, Erica, with their laptop or big binders. I would show up differently. I would show up with another member of my team, male, female. I'd show up with professional stagers. I'd show up with my video book. So I have this video book. We're in a show and tell industry, I tell people. I'd show up with this video book, and when you open up the video book, it's got a 10-inch monitor, and literally I can hit the play button, and you can watch property videos. Let me hit the play button so you can see it. So literally, like I would show up and not just tell people, hey, I'm going to do an amazing video of your home. I'm going to show them examples of what I've done for similar clientele. So again, it's one thing to tell them you're different. It's another thing to show them you're different. And so when everyone showed up with a laptop, I would show up with my video book. I'd show up with a book I wrote called Marketing Luxury, and they were pre-sold on me before the appointment, and then during the appointment they were sold on me even more because I was different. And again, for my market, the luxury homes aren't selling very quickly. So my angle is, listen, if you want to hire a traditional agent, if you want to do the same thing as everybody else, I'm not the guy for you. But Albert Einstein defines that as insanity. So I would just like kind of, play into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. You really have to tell them what you're thinking, and really, I guess, head up all of the things that they're going to doubt about you, and really show them that I love the video book idea. That I think, obviously, I love video because I think that it plays up much better than just flipping through a book and have baking some cookies or whatever else they do. I think it's fantastic.
Well, and so you need to articulate what makes you different. I'm in a show and tell industry. The other aspect of it, of course, you mentioned video. So I do a lot of educational video. So in real estate, really, there's buyers and there's sellers. Now, yeah, there might be renters or there might be investors, but keep it really simple. There's a buyer and a seller in most transactions, right? And so I do a lot of educational videos on buyers, for buyers, on why the summer of 2017 is a great time to buy, or why interest rates are all-time low is a great time to buy, and tips for sellers, 7 mistakes most sellers make before selling, or hey, how do home prices compare today to the peak 10 years ago in Chicagoland market? Now, the most recent video I did an educational video on how do 10 of the highest priced homes currently for sale in Illinois, how do they compare to some of these online value estimate websites? I'm not going to name it, but there's a big one out there that people go to see what your home is worth. And so I did a comparison, and I bring a lot of information, a lot of data. So now if people are Googling luxury agent or whatever, there's not a lot of agents that can stack the type of videos I have, and so I'm building rapport and trust before they even contact me. They're pre-sold. At least this guy knows his stuff. Now, whether they like me or not when they meet me, that's something else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the more that you do that, just as a little video tip, if you were doing that on a daily basis, even if you could find a way to do it, you're going to just surge in the rankings as well.
Even once a week, though. Like someone might say on you, they might have a limiting belief. They say, well, Eric, I can't commit to once, even if it's once a week. Well, once a week, do the math. And you take 2 weeks, that's 50 videos a year. If you do 50 videos a year, or you do every other, that's 25 a year if you take 2 weeks. I mean, even that is going to be so much more. And don't overanalyze it. I'm being generalist here, but sometimes females are more conscientious of how they look on video than males. But listen, I got one nostril bigger than the other. Self-deprecating humor is always a good thing. But just do it. Good is good enough, and do it. And there's Facebook Lives, there's other videos you can do, but video's not going away in any industry. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting it out on all of the social media platforms is a huge help. So, just keep building that audience, and then whenever you need to sell something, it's out there. It's phenomenal. So
Absolutely.
You've been an entrepreneur for 17 years, and I just wondered, are there any challenges that you had to overcome that you think would help the audience as business owners and entrepreneurs and salespeople, something that they can learn from, or maybe something you overcame that that seemed complicated at first, but you were able to find the answer?
Well, it's the inner game. The inner game is what most human beings struggle with all the time, whether it be entrepreneurs, whether it be employees, whether it be former athletes, whether it be current athletes, the inner game. So what are you doing to consistently strengthen your inner game, your mindset? Your mindset is like a muscle. Okay, just like if you break a leg and you go through physical therapy, you get atrophy, your muscles shrink, so you got to strengthen it. Well, your mindset, you have to constantly be strengthening it. there's an old adage, garbage in, garbage in, garbage out. People mostly finish that with. No, it's garbage in, garbage stays. You know, you hang out with 9 dead broke people, you're bound to be the 10th. I mean, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So what are you reading? What are you watching? Is it news? If you watch the news all the time, you're going to be depressed. You're thinking, you know,
I never watch the news.
Whatever. Right. Don't watch the news, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing that entrepreneurs, staying motivated, and then the other would be is staying focused. There's so many distractions out there through the internet, through text messaging, through Facebook, through instant messaging, through everyday things that you and I have to deal with our family. So being focused on your why and prioritization and prioritizing is really important, because there's going to be little fires that come up, but if you have a staff or you have a personal assistant, can you delegate those? So being organized, prioritization is important, staying focused, and you know, staying motivated. You know, my butt's always burning. I'm always trying to get better, and you know, some people have that and some people don't. And if you don't have it, that's okay, as long as you can identify that. Then you got to figure out what you got to do to get that drive, that motivation.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's as simple as putting together a schedule and sticking to it. I mean, you got a list of stuff to do, you know, you want to accomplish, work backwards and figure out how many hours that's going to take, and work it into your schedule, and just watch those to-do list boxes get checked off. I think that's one of the good ways to start off. So you use a lot of different marketing methods. One of the questions I typically ask in these marketing interviews is, you know, what combination of marketing methods has really worked for you the best? And I know that what you do isn't going to always work for everyone else, but it's great to hear, you know, a real case study about things that are going right.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So,
thanks.
There's a lot of different things I do. So if I were to pick one that probably is working best for me today, it's very synergistic with what you do. It's video. I mean, I do a lot of educational videos for real estate, so that's very helpful. If I were to say what else is really working, I think networking is important. You know, I make a lot more money when I'm away from my office than when I'm in my office. What I mean by that is networking. So, you know, iron sharpens iron. And so who are your clients? Who are your ideal clients? I actually was interviewed today for many of you at least know the Glazer Kennedy GKIC. They have a newsletter that comes out every month, and in October I'm going to be featured for Marketing to the Affluent. And one of their questions was, you know, what would you recommend for those listeners, those reading this, on how do they market to the affluent? How do they get in? And one of my suggestions was just networking. So figuring out who your ideal client looks like. I call that an avatar. So what does your ideal client look like? So for me, my ideal client for my selling homes business is someone selling a home, and you know, ideally the price point is $1 million plus, and they're a realistic seller, and you know, they have equity in the home, and just diving deep, and then trying to cater your marketing message and your branding and your videos towards them. You know, so you attract magnetic marketing. You attract what it is you're really looking for from a client, and so that's you know, that's important. I think some people just have a one-size-fits-all and a pray and spray mentality. You really have to figure out, hey, what are your best clients look like? Not physically look like, but you know, what are their attributes, and what are your, sometimes what they look like too, I guess, and depending on what industry you're in, right? And then what are the pain in the butt clients, if you will? What attributes do they have? And so based on that, personality profile will help. So I'm a real big, there's Myers-Briggs and Colby, and in the real estate industry, many people use the DISC personality profile, D-I-S-C. You guys can Google it later. I think Tony Robbins gives a free DISC profile. You could just Google it, but try it. It's awesome. And it's basically, Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages, and if you're ever in a relationship or you are in one, I recommend that book. But the same concept from Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, you basically take that concept, and if you're presented with an opportunity in front of a client, and you understand personality profiles and you understand the way they're wired, you will change your communication. You'll not only mirror them, but you will understand what's important to them. You will communicate with them the way they want to be communicated to. So I'm like a high D and an I and a disc personality. And so, if you're pitching me on something, you got to bottom line it to me. If you get into a long list presentation with slides, I'm ADD, you're going to lose me. And even if you were giving me $1 million, I probably wouldn't stay to the end of the presentation because I'd be bored off my rear end. So you need to have 3 types of presentations, and your staff does. So more of a bottom line, more of a fast-paced, a slower pace that's more detailed, more visuals, graphs, social proof, and then the mixed presentation, depending on if a husband-wife combination or partnerships are there. You're catering to the majority person, but also a third of your presentation is to the non-decision maker.
I love that. I love that. I don't think many people do get that opportunity to make a presentation to the non-decision maker, because they do end up weighing in and sometimes ruining your sale. So I think that's fantastic.
Think about it. You're talking to the husband, wife, the husband's decision maker. You need to get her on board.
Yeah, everybody needs to be on board. Yep.
I mean, I use the old dating analogy with somebody once, like, if you're single and you're out at the bar, Erica, and there's 2 guys there and you're talking to one's handsome, he got your attention, the other you're not interested in, you got to kind of win him over so he says the good thing to the other guy about you,
That's great. And that disc assessment is fantastic. I mean, I've done a lot of video blogs on it because I used to be a distributor, and so I'm a high I all the way through. So just think of me as a golden retriever. But I am also aware that when I'm talking to you, I have to keep things short and not be flowering, going a bunch of tangents. So I think that makes a huge difference in sales and in life. If you're trying to sell your ideas or your products or whatever. So definitely check those out. Let's see here. So that I think that's really great advice, and even just for sales in general, even if you're not selling houses, it's important to be able to present to everybody on the team and realize you're talking to more than one personality too. So it can be a little bit complicated at times, but if you do your research, then you will see your sales increase for sure. Let's see here.
Theodore Roosevelt once said, nobody cares how much you know until they know you care. And part of them knowing you care is building that affinity, like that common bond, communicating with them in a way to resonate. So that'd be the other thing is try to do your due diligence on somebody if you're talking to them ahead of time, who they like, who are there similar connections. I call it my social media scrub. Do we have similar connections we can talk about? Like, did they go to University of Florida and I'm a University of Florida grad? Whatever it might be. Like, do they like football and I like football? Or do they like the Bachelor in Paradise page and you like the Bachelor in Paradise page, and so you can talk about that stuff. So whatever it is, secret. So whatever it is, like, do your due diligence so you can build that rapport and that affinity.
It's hilarious. You're gonna out me. All right, let's see here. So I wanted to talk to you too about what the next big thing is in your industry, and I just want to mention one thing that I noticed that I love. I mean, your videos are very much like movies, and one of the things that you do to make it so when you're marketing someone's house is you are probably one of the first adopters of using drone cameras attached to drones and just circling the property. I mean, I think people used to do that with helicopters, but now you're using drones, and it looks amazing when you're marketing these beautiful homes. Talk about that, and then some other things that are coming down the pipe. Yeah.
So differentiation. What do you hang your hat on? So last year we did 20 of those lifestyle films for properties we represented, and it's not only just drones. Like, so some of the things I brought in to make my video stand out and accentuate the best features of a home. So I literally have shot part of a video for a home from a helicopter. I wanted to incorporate Lake Michigan in the sky, so I paid $950, got up in a helicopter. We flew over this house I was selling and flew back, and So I've done helicopter. I brought in $2.5 million worth of vehicles for one video. There's a house I'm selling that's got a 22-car garage. So I brought in 3 Lamborghinis, 2 Bentleys, and 2 Rolls Royces for the video.
I saw that one. Very
so,
impressive.
I mean, these are all things that you have to do to differentiate yourself from the competition. And so I'm always trying to, you know, take it to that next level and do some things. So, you know, we're doing some pretty great things with our certification. So real estate agents, like financial planners and different fields, they have continuing education, and many of them have what I like to call those ABC letters at the end of their name, and most of the consumers don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I launched a certification for agents, which is known as luxury listing specialists, and we have some really great affiliations and big, if you will, service providers that really promote our course, and so they have really big recognition behind it. But I'm working on some technology aspects that would incorporate my certification with some trainings and some other things that would, I think, be a huge differentiator. I've already had a couple outfits reach out to me and say, hey, when you build this, come back to us. We'd be interested. So I'm really excited about that. That's something that I'm working and reconnecting with my developer on Thursday to kind of get a better idea of timeline. But I'm hoping, you know, that come end of October that this platform will be launched.
That's fantastic. And just for those out there that may not understand that there are 2 different businesses that Michael's talking about. He has a business where he actually sells the luxury homes, and because he's become so fantastic in marketing, he has started what they call an info marketing business, where he is now marketing his marketing information and how to market these luxury homes to other realtors that want to sell high-end marketing, high-end homes, and they want to use his marketing methods. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm a licensed real estate agent in the state of Illinois, and then I have my consulting business, which is known as the Marketing Luxury Group, and that's where we coach and consult, and we offer the certifications and that sort of thing.
And how long have you been doing the info marketing business?
So I launched it in 2010, but the shift to luxury really came over in 2014.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not.
In October, for example, I'm like gone twice a week for like the whole month of October, and that's the most difficult part of the consulting and the speaking is being away from your family. So, so September I'm not gone that much, which is good. But that's, you know, something that, you know, when you're passionate about and you got to get the message out there, you know, sometimes those opportunities don't come along that often. So you got to jump on when they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. I hate being away from my little munchkin. So I would be really missing out on something if I didn't ask you what book you're reading right now.
It's a great question. Man, so right now the book that I'm reading is actually a book that my wife got me for my birthday, which was last week. It's from Tim Tebow, who was a college football stud, and then he's playing in the New York Mets organization right now. It's a more of a Christian-based, how he's overcome obstacles and that sort of thing. I watch a lot of podcasts and do a lot of like various affirmations and various things. I'm, you know, not a book a week type of guy. I mean, I got a 19 on my ACT. It's tough for me to get my attention. So, like, you know, I do a lot of trainings and webinars and attend events. So that's how I learn best. So don't think you have to read a book every day or every week. If some people are readers, I'm not. I love some great books. So I love Darren Hardy's Compound Effect. That's one of my favorite books.
Me too. And you can listen to that one in the car.
Yeah, they have audios for most of these books.
Yeah, I have.
If you drive a lot. So, like, the last month and a half, my assistant, I have an intern working for me. We've been all hands on deck. I got a 180-something page book that we're about to release in mid-September. And it's just, I mean, the number of hours that have gone into this thing. I mean, I'm kind of a recovering perfectionist, but I'm a perfectionist with this book. And so, like, edit after edit and proofreader after proofreader, I'm just come together. But I'm really excited. the name of it is the same name as my certification, which is called Luxury Listing Specialist. Dominate selling luxury homes in your market is the subheadline.
That's fantastic. And so my next question was going to be, what are you offering the audience today? And I did put a URL up for where people can, go there and they can check out your new book that's coming out, and they can either download it or pay for shipping and get it for free, something of that to that effect. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And the book, like I said, will be out mid-September, so they could always buy it on Amazon as well. So.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, Michael, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. Your insights and information have been absolutely amazing, and I know that a lot of people are learning from it and get a lot of value out of it. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. And good is good enough out there for those of you that haven't done videos. If you saw even what you put out 3 years ago compared to what you've done today, the progression. And if you haven't done videos, just get them out there. I guarantee you they're better than 90% of your competition.
Yep, you don't need to have a big green screen. I started doing them just on a webcam, just like this, and I'm sure that someday my online interviews are going to be much fancier. But I didn't start with lighting, and I didn't start with the backdrop. Just started doing it, and I look back. Actually, somebody said something pretty funny to me once. I started doing these video blogs using my webcam, and I was sending them out in a weekly email. And he said, Erica, your content is great, but you look like you were just abducted by, someone, and they're about to slit your throat. And I'm like, oh my God.
Thanks for the
comment. That actually shocked me. I know. Well, I mean, I think it's because of the camera angle. I didn't really adjust. So to me, to him, it looked like I was sitting in a tent in some desert and whatever. But I'm like, wow. But that stopped me for about 6 months. I stopped doing it, and I learned a lot more about video. I took courses, and it shouldn't have stopped me, and that's the point. Don't let anyone do that to you. I'm not proud that stopped me, but I think at the time I was a little taken aback. So, yeah, believe me, good is good enough, and even though Michael's a perfectionist, you keep hearing him say, and I'm a recovering perfectionist, because you have to don't let that stuff get in your way. Just get it out there.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for being on the show, and to all of the people out there that are listening, thank you so much for tuning in every week. Bringing me more fantastic marketing advice next week, and again, it's been a real pleasure, and I sincerely thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. If anyone wants to send me an email, they can send an email to michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup. But keep doing what you're doing as well. Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you. And this has been Erica DELSIGNORE, founder of Daily Lead Campaign, and you're watching Great Minds, Great Marketing, my interview series where I bring experts from around the world to talk about their fantastic marketing ideas and share them with you. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and have a great day.